In the immortal words of Aerosmith, we are back in the saddle.
Oh my God.
I had that one locked and
Wow.
loaded,
Oh
ready
wow,
to
I
go.
could tell. There was no bracing for that one, bud.
Nope, I was locked and loaded on that one, buddy. We are
liked it.
back from a little end of summer hiatus. We had weddings, we had events, we had travel, we had
It was
everything. And so
packed.
we said, you know what? Let's just take some time off for the end of
Yeah.
the summer
Yeah.
and come back strong for the latter half of the year. And
We got
here we
some-
are.
We got some stuff coming up, my friend.
We do. We are right on the cusp of Q4 2022. We can see the horizon. We can see the end of the year.
Yep.
And so we thought it would be fun to compile a list of
Yep.
the things that we're most excited to see
Mhm.
as we head into Q4 of 2022. And when I looked at this today, I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff. Some stuff that I completely forgot about.
Same. I mean, it's weird, right? It's weird when you've there's been movies that have been kind of rumored or talked about for such a long time. Especially we're in a new age now where teasers come out a year in advance or you know what I mean? There's all these little things and you kind of lose track and you're kind of
Yes.
wait, because sometimes they're talking about movies right now that are not coming out until next year. So you kind of go oh, that sucks. Well, then what's still left? And you kind of go, oh, wait, whoa, there's all these other ones. And yeah, I did the same thing, dude. I was running through this list of movies coming out. And it was we got some good movies still to watch. I'm excited.
So I want to kick us off here. I want to go first, and I'll be transparent and say the three things on my list I don't think you're going to find at all surprising. I could have told you ahead of time, make
I
my
already
list
knew.
for me, and you probably would have been able to do it.
100%.
So we'll start with number 3,
Okay.
and that is Black Adam.
Oh,
And-
see, okay.
But I'm not.
I won't
So
cut you off.
listen, I'm not dying to sit in the theater and watch this movie,
Right,
but
right.
this is a big movie for Warner Brothers and DC on film, man. And we know
Yeah.
The Rock is a bona fide box office draw. I've
time.
personally raved about the casting of Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. This movie also will include the Justice Society of America and a heavily rumored cameo from Henry Cavill as Superman.
That'll be wild.
Oh, yes. All that aside, like I said, I think this is such a big movie for them because they haven't outright confirmed it. But the look of the way the film is shot from the trailers, along with the potential inclusion of Henry Cavill, this is, for all intents and purposes, set in the Snyderverse.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, it's of no fault of the movie itself, because if anything, we have, for any of the listeners or watchers, right, viewers, we have this kind of ongoing joke, and if anybody has seen The Godfather Part 3, there's a famous line of, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And that is the DCEU in a nutshell.
Yep.
And never have those words been more true than with the release of the trailer for Black Adam. It was probably the most odd feeling to be frustrated by the fact that a movie looked good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
You're what? Damn it.
Mhm.
Fuck. I can't, you can't, I just, it's hard to wrap your mind around at a certain point because you kind of go listen, again, if you liked it, I'm happy for you. If you didn't, I'm happy for you. I think the common denominator amongst our group here at Talkin' Pop is we're not huge on it. But the fact is
we're
that
camp that's ready to move on from it. I think that's
just
fair
it.
to say.
It's just we're just ready to move on. I don't think it fully worked for us. I don't think it fully worked for a lot of people. They tried, it didn't work. I don't hold any grudges against them. But then it's kind of like this weird CPR thing keeps happening. And then we're scrapping other movies and this is still happening. And we're there's talk that they'll never do anything to do with it. I don't know. It's just a bit of a chaotic thing. I think that's literally the only reason I left it off my list because I saw it was coming up and I am excited to see it.
But it's
I'm
interesting.
also what are we doing?
But it's interesting. The point I'm trying to make is I'm more excited to see how the movie actually does from a
Me too.
business perspective for Warner Brothers than I am to actually sit down and watch the movie. There's also the fact that like this is a passion project for Dwayne Johnson. Like this is something that's been in development for years. Yes.
Correct. And that's why I actually think it's going to not only do well, but it's going to be good. That's my big thing. And that's why I'm also like, what is this? But what if it kills
if
it?
If it
what
does well,
mean?
It'll breathe new life into that it will, man. It will. Like, do I think they're going to proceed?
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I mean, I'm not necessarily totally against it either, because I have beat this drum too many times to even circle back to fully again. So I won't here. But I will say the one thing I have always said is that the casting of the heroes and a lot of the overall like aesthetic, like how they look, I'm like, boom, you nailed it. But a lot of the rest of it was just this. I don't know if it was too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't know if it was not understanding the core material of what exactly. Rushing is another big one. Not understanding the core material. I don't know. But the whole thing is just like I'm very apprehensive, I guess, to be just like, I'm so excited to see Black Adam, because I don't know where it's going from this point. So if it kills it, and then Warner Brothers is also then like, we're going in a new direction, I'm gonna be like, well, what the? Well, also, you finally got one.
Another factor in this is the turmoil going on at Warner Brothers.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, so if this movie does well for them, then they're like, oh my God, perfect. We gotta right? It's like, it just feels like they've got a lot of balls in the air and they don't know where they're going to drop. And like, this is one where, so like, just to put a bow on this and then we'll move on to your selection.
Yeah.
I think if this was just a straight up like next evolution of the chapter of the DCEU, I think I would be like, whatever, it is what it is. But like, once you factor in The Rock and like I said earlier, the guy's a bona fide box office draw. Like, I think it's very interesting from a business perspective to see what happens with Black Adam.
Oh, me too. And I genuinely am starting to wonder if it's like the future of all DC projects kind of rides on the shoulders of whatever this does.
Yes.
However this does.
Agree. I completely agree.
Which is a weird position for a movie. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
We could talk about it all day.
We could. Yeah. We gotta not go too far down the DC rabbit hole. Cause you're right. You and I could sit here for 3 hours and talk about it.
Imagine this episode just takes a complete shift and we just don't talk about the rest of the movies. So anyways, one of my first big picks for the rest of 2022 is, and I was stoked because I heard that this was coming out. I heard who the cast was. There was a lot of rumblings about it for quite a bit of time. And then we just got a trailer for it just recently. I think it was either maybe 1 or 2 weeks back, but is Babylon. Babylon with Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt. It looks fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. It looks like Wolf of Wall Street meets old time Hollywood, and it's gonna be, everybody wants
Tobey Maguire in this too.
Tobey Maguire's in it. There's a lot. Honestly, there's quite a list of people here, and a lot of great character actors as well. Eric Roberts, who will always forever be Eric Roberts from Entourage for me.
also Maroney
shrooming a Joshua tree. Yeah. Oh, right. Yes. Side note, he's super underrated as an actor.
Yeah, he is.
Every time he's in something, I'm like, he has a lot of gravitas to his performances. Anyways, that movie to me looks just outstanding. And I think it's one of those movies that, some people would kind of put in that category of, award season type movie, Oscar season type movie. But in my opinion, it's one of those ones that it's like so good and nitty gritty, but the acting performances will probably really stand out. But it'll be one of those ones that the Academy will just maybe go like, we're not going to give you the award. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those movies that everybody kind of like wants to win, but won't probably win, which probably means it's going to be phenomenal. Is
Margot Robbie in everything, or am I just like hallucinating?
No, she
every time I turn around, it's starring Margot Robbie.
Dude, she's she's everywhere. She's also in the news like every other day. I'm like, okay.
Like, is there a more in-demand
actress
than Margot Robbie?
Well, again, you've got this like lightning in a bottle situation where it's like she's not only just, a stunning looking human being, but she's also just an outstanding actor. Like, she's just an outstanding actor. Everything she's been in, ironically, I'm talking about Wolf of Wall Street here. Ever since she did that, it's just been like, who is this? Like, she's fantastic. And then you got Harley Quinn. You've got all these other movies. She did what was the Tanya Harding movie, the skating one? It was fantastic. She was just phenomenal in it. So I think between her and Brad Pitt and having them come like a bit of a reunion, although not really, I don't think they shared any scenes from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but they were in the movie. They were both in the movie. It's kind of cool to see them kind of pairing back up again. I think that's kind of cool. But anyways, that to me, that's also coming out Christmas Day, I believe. That is a must see. That is an absolute must see for me.
For my next selection, I'm going to transition over into the TV world. I'm going to go with Andor.
Oh, yeah.
No one, and you can attest to this, has crapped all over Disney Star Wars more than me. No one.
Yeah. I don't think that's true. You're pretty reserved compared to a lot of these
psychos. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, let's just call them what they are. Yeah.
Yes. I don't harass people, but I have been pretty vocal about how I think Disney, with the exception of a couple of projects, has largely dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk some more Disney properties here, and I'm sure we'll get into a conversation of Disney as a whole. But the thing that has me most excited for this is hopefully I don't hear the word Skywalker once in any of these episodes, because as I said at the end of Obi-Wan, I'm so ready to move on from that. Like, all we've heard about from all these people who have come in and worked on the Star Wars IP is, oh, it's such a vast world with so many characters and so many possibilities. And it's like, right, but everything you guys do, it revolves around the Skywalkers. So I love Diego Luna. I think Diego Luna is awesome.
He crushed it.
You and I can both agree that when it comes to the films, I would say my favorite thing Disney has done with Star Wars since acquiring it is The Mandalorian, but definitely the best of the films was Rogue One.
It was, what's so strange? I mean, it just goes to show how good Disney is at advertising, because I knew Andor was coming out. I knew that it was attached and was related to Rogue One being, all the characters and everything leading up to Rogue One. But again, there was a bit of a gap there. And, I've been doing a little back and forthing flights to and from and whatever. And I'm thinking, like, what should I watch? What should I watch on the flight? And I saw Rogue One and I was kind of like, damn, I haven't watched that in a while. I'm going to download that and I watched that. So first of all, good on Disney because the fact that was just like in my brain and I just went in and watched it. That movie is without a doubt, one of the best things that they have put out since they took over, if not the best. And not only one of the best that they've put out, it might be one of the best pieces of Star Wars content out of all of them.
100%.
And I'm talking
I would only rank The Mandalorian ahead of it. That's if I was going to rank Disney, the things that Disney's done with Star Wars, I would go Mandalorian, Rogue One.
And that's cool. I don't know that I would. And that's nothing against Mandalorian. I freaking love Mandalorian. But there was such a great level of like grittiness. Yeah. It was like Star Wars meets like Saving Private Ryan meets like espionage Bond movie or something along those lines. It's like they captured all of these things. And now you got the guys from the Bourne movies taking over for Andor, and they're going to be directing the episodes and everything. And I'm just like, yes.
Again, but you know why?
Stop being so jokey. Not everything has to be so jokey.
New story. Listen, at the end of the day, yes, Vader was in it, and it's surrounded, and they had like the CGI Leia at the end and like all that.
Yes.
But for 99% of the movie, it was a new story with new characters
Yes.
and a new sort of look and feel.
Absolutely.
And that is something that they have not done enough of since acquiring it. It's just always leaning back and playing it safe. Skywalker. It's like, I'm so done with the Skywalkers.
Listen, and I like I like the idea that there are, because you don't want to go, I feel like you don't want to go too heavy-handed and just like pretend like they're not there, especially in Andor, because it lands so heavily in the rebels and like all that stuff that it was
about the beginning of the rebellion.
Correct. So you don't really want to ignore it, because then it just like becomes like, why aren't they even talking about them? But I just think that it is just such a testament to the fact, like you said, that it holds so much more weight to kind of have this like aura circulating. It's like, they're there, they're around Vader and the Emperor and all that stuff kind of is circulating, but we don't necessarily have to see them, and we don't necessarily have to have this like full on like,
or have this moment where it's like, oh, it's Skywalker. Oh.
Yeah. Like, it's fine. I think it's fine to mention things, but it's like, I just don't think you have to do it every time, because you're watering it down.
Totally agree.
You're watering it down, and you're not making it as exciting that when they do pop up, because like, dude, that scene with Vader in Rogue One is
amazing.
Unbelievable. But again, it's because you spent so much time building all these other characters up, and you built up the intensity to this fever pitch, and then it's just like this, and it's just the light from the saber lights up the whole alleyway, and that whole fight happens. Unbelievable. But again, it's because you had pacing. It's because you took the time to build up all these other characters in the background of it.
Do you think in Andor we'll get some sort of another CGI Grand Moff Tarkin, or like potentially
probably
like a Leia again, something like that?
I think that they've kind of set the bar. It's funny because that was the first time, maybe not the first time, but it was definitely one of the first times Disney kind of stuck their toe in that water.
I think you're right, man. I'm pretty sure in Star Wars, that was the first time.
I think it might have
they
been
went like full, because I remember him turning around, seeing that in the theater, and going, "Oh shit, that's yeah." And it still looks pretty good. You can tell that it was still in its infancy. Like going back and watching it, you could tell it was still a little bit in its infancy. There was like maybe a little motion cap with the mouth that looked a little off or something. A little computer gamey.
But still just like, I'm good with it. This is crazy. But now the technology, just like everything else, has come so far that it's like, I wouldn't be shocked if they did it, but it would be so much tighter. And I bet they know that. And so I would be shocked if they didn't try to take that opportunity to be like, let's do it again, fellas. Do you know what 100%, I mean?
100%.
Right? So anyways, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. That's going to be I would be willing to bet, not to fully move, we need to move on, but not to fully leave this. I'd be willing to bet this is going to be right up there with one of their best pieces of content too. Not only,
I hope so.
Just knowing who's involved this time, and I think based on the trailer and based on the fact that they knew how well Rogue One was, just how well it did, how well it was perceived by everyone, that it's like, okay, well, we're not going to mess with that then. Let's give the people more of that, and then we'll see how that goes. Because let's be honest, other than Mandalorian, a lot of it's been getting like responses.
Well, that's
not bad, but you're like,
that's Disney in general right now for a lot of stuff, man.
I mean, we'll
talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But so let's move on to your next pick.
Yes. So my next pick. I had a whole list, man. It took me a while. We'll do some
honorable mentions.
We're gonna do some honorable mentions here. The next one I'm gonna go with is Avatar: The Way of the Water.
Oh, I could have like.
You could have told.
I'm surprised that's not number one on your list.
It almost was. Do you want to know why it's not?
Why?
I'm shocked. Based on what I also said earlier in this episode, we've seen nothing.
Last night in Sunday Night Football,
it's clearly coming, but it's still like we're a few months out.
Yep.
We just talked about the fact that some movies are putting out teasers and trailers like a year in advance, or like pictures from the set, pictures from that, and they're also re-releasing the original one back into theaters. which is wild.
That's
it was
so
that long ago.
Last night in Sunday Night Football, they ran that TV spot promoting that's going back in theaters like 100 times.
Exactly. So I don't know, like clearly it's very calculated what they're trying to do here is like start the momentum train. But that's usually why we start getting teasers and trailers and pictures and things like that, like so much further in advance, and we've got nothing. But if anything, that's also a testament to the fact that is like my number 2 that I'm excited for, because I'm like the fact that they're not showing anything, and I know how dedicated of a filmmaker that James Cameron is, that he refuses to do things unless they're perfect, unless the technology's there. That's why it took so long between like Titanic and doing Avatar. And then from Avatar, which I believe was 2009, I think I'm right, 2008 or 2009. And now you're getting the sequel in 2022. That is wild. That is a wild.
2009.
Thank you. But listen, I think it's just one of those things where I'm like, if you're ever going to put your faith in a director to deliver, this is your guy. And if anything, I just saw a story about that recently where I think it was James Cameron talking about the original. He did some interview recently and he was talking about how Avatar, when it was coming up, and like apparently a lot of people are trying to get their hands on it and trying to change things and do whatever. And he was like, the studio that we're in right now, the one that we're building all the sets in and everything else. Yeah, guess what paid for that? Titanic.
Yeah.
Leave me the fuck alone. And it was like, damn. And listen, so that's what I'm saying. If anybody, like, you got to trust their vision and see what they're going to come out with, it's got to be James Cameron.
One thing I'm unclear on, when they release the original back in the theaters, is it the immersive 3D experience again?
That's a great question. I've been wondering the same thing, because I feel like if it was, they would have promoted it as such.
And it's nowhere. Like I said, I saw that TV spot 100 times last night, and it doesn't say it. And
it's the only movie that was actually good in 3D, which is that's kind what I was going to say.
Much to yours and my delight, the 3D movie has kind of that's enough.
Dissipated.
Yes.
Well, because nobody was actually filming it in 3D. Because again, James Cameron was like, I'm doing a 3D movie, but I'm going to have this like insane technology that nobody's seen before. And then we were all in the theater, like trying to touch those floaty things. We're like, holy crap. And then every other movie was just like, hey, we're going to do it in post-production. It's going to look just as good. You're going to pay twice the price to see it. And you're like, this is shit.
Put on these cheap ass glasses
that are going to hurt your nose for like 2 hours. And God help you if you need other glasses on top of it.
That was my whole life was putting glasses on top of glasses.
Good call. Good call. So listen, I just think in general, this movie has such like a level of gravitas around it, because its predecessor in the first movie was such a, dynamic, world-changing movie, because it was like the highest grossing movie of all time for at least 10, 15 years there. Or whatever it was, but it was a long time. And then what was it? Avengers Endgame took it over. I think they topped them. But anyways, that was also a cool kind of like, they had their like little nod, and then James Cameron was like, number 2 is coming out in a couple of years. We'll see. And it was like, wow. So again, this guy, I just think that this movie's got so much interest and hype around it. And I like the fact that I don't really know that much yet, other than there's clearly going to be like a lot of water involved. So, I mean, listen,
the way of the water.
Imagine there's just no water.
There's just no water.
It's a double blind. Anyways, that is my pick. That's my pick for number 2. That is 100% going to the movie theater, hopefully IMAX.
So my last pick, I want to talk about the actual pick itself and then talk about the landscape surrounding it. I think, you and myself and Kelly have a lot of opinions on the state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where it's at now. And we were texting the other day about our mixed feelings on She-Hulk, and there's been some hits and misses, like watch Thor Love and Thunder, meh. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, good, but didn't blow your socks off.
Right.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever, not only does it have all the obvious emotions surrounding it with Chadwick Boseman, but that trailer that they put out at Comic-Con is one of the more epic trailers that they've put out in quite some time.
Agreed. And let me just say this quickly for all the listeners and the watchers. This is what we like to call synergy, because I don't think I need to explain beyond the fact that I'm going to say this was also my big pick.
Because it's a huge movie for them, man.
I can actually say this was not a put on.
No,
this was Rob's pick. We did not talk about this. I didn't talk about this. This is both of our number one pick. I'm highly invested. I'm highly invested to see this movie. I think it's going to. I know I just used this word in respect to the Avatar movie coming out, but there's just such a level of gravitas that is going to be associated with this movie, and a level of expectation.
Get ready to wipe your eyes watching this, man.
There's been very, I always think it's odd in some ways when, a celebrity passes away, and, a lot of people get upset, and rightly so. But it's like, at a certain point, and I'm only saying it's odd because it's like, you don't know the person. But there have been certain celebrities that have passed away over the years, whether it be too soon or to a horrible illness or what have you, that leave an impact on people that is just, earth-shattering for a lot of people. And Chadwick Boseman is either on the top of that list or somewhere near the top of the list, alongside the likes of like a Robin Williams or a Heath Ledger or something like that. It was just so tragic. And it was because also not only because he was such a talented actor and he had done this film being Black Panther and already being a fantastic actor before he did it, but doing Black Panther, a movie that really, moved the needle for a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons, that to see his bravery, not saying that he was sick through all those movies and the other movies that he did beyond that. And it was, that this movie's going to be a hard watch, but I also think it's going to bring out maybe some of the best performances we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, dude,
I think it's going to be some of the best filmmaking we've seen. Yeah.
Angela Bassett's monologue. She's the only one who speaks in the whole trailer. Kelly and I talk about this in our Comic-Con review. She's the only one who speaks in the whole trailer, and oh my god, she says like one sentence, and it's like it's so powerful, and it's shot beautifully. Like Ryan Coogler's coming back. There's all the speculation of like who's going to take over the mantle.
That's another thing I like, right? That there's some of the superhero stuff, like movies. I'm not trying to downplay it. I love superhero movies, but it's more that it's just like there's kind of been like this beat to beat thing that is somewhat becoming predictable for some of these movies. And I really, really like the fact that this is something where we are not really sure where they're gonna go with it, who they're going to. There's speculation, but nobody really knows. They haven't announced anything, and I don't think they will. I think they're going to let the movie, speak for itself. And I think that's what most movies are supposed to do. I like that there's not like, it's based on this arc of, the storyline, and I know exactly what's going to happen because I've already read it before. It's like, no, they're going to be true to some of those things, but I think they're also going to have some maneuverability because they have to be. This was something that was they couldn't predict in losing Chadwick. So yeah.
Another notable thing about this movie is it's going to feature the debut of Namor, and it looks like if the premise is sort of Wakanda is at war with Atlantis, which is super interesting. So we're getting the whole like Atlantis side of Marvel.
Yeah.
This is first and foremost the priority around this movie is the emotion and honoring Chadwick Boseman, like 100%.
Yeah.
But this is a huge movie for Disney and Marvel in a year that has seen a lot of meh like a lot of meh reactions to the stuff they put out. Like I haven't, there hasn't been one thing they've put out this year that has been overwhelmingly like nothing they put out gets trashed, right? Like nothing they put out, people go, oh my god, that's pure garbage. But
well, because there's still a bar. Like whenever we talk about some of these movies, and we've made this point before about like, you know, something being rushed out or something being you know, just reactionary to like what other studios are doing. It's kind of like, I feel like Disney has been setting themselves to such a high standard for so long. Neither one of us is going to sit here and be like, you know, like bury them for having, you know, maybe a run here of things that just aren't quite as exciting or quite as engaging or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, like it's also, you know, we never on this podcast come from a position of just like, you know, fuck you guys or something. It's always like, you know, we're coming just from a perspective of like fans of yours. And again, if we didn't care, we wouldn't even talk about it. I think that's been obvious in the past too about certain movies that people were like pushing and should we talk about it? And we're like, listen, we're not on here just to bury people. We love movies. We love TV shows. We love all these types of things. And it's like, we want to talk about the stuff we're excited about. And Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, these are all properties that they own, and we're excited to talk about all of them. So it would be kind of a disservice to just sit here and pretend like everything is perfect. And it's like, I mean, it's just not. There's just times where it's like things are, I don't know. There's just like, you know, you go on a good run, you go on a bad run, you go on a meh run, who knows? But
and when you're pumping out content at the level with which they're pumping it out, it's not all going to be Avengers Endgame. Yeah, like it's not. It it can't be. So I think that, like, you know, in terms of like cinematic releases, their last since Spider-Man No Way Home, everything has been met with, it was okay. Or I really like that, or I really didn't like that. And like, I think this is one where it's like, the reason why I love this trailer so much is because it starts off with the shot of like the people in Wakanda doing some sort of like celebratory like dance, right? And it's just, it's like, and then the Marvel logo just sort of appears on screen, and you're like, yes, like this is that. This feels like it's on that level. It feels like an Endgame trailer. It feels like it's like, yes, this is what I want. Like, well, exactly. I love all the TV shows and everything, like except for She-Hulk, but like, I don't hate She-Hulk. It's just not. It's not the best.
I think you know what's frustrating about She-Hulk? We'll circle back. I won't go too far down this road. I think what's so interesting about She-Hulk was actually the first couple episodes. I was kind of like,
weren't that bad, yeah.
I actually don't hate this at all. Like and not that I was going into it like I'm gonna for sure hate this. It was just more that I was like,
we were skeptical.
We've been definitely very skeptical, but it's also, you know, I there's just certain times where not everything is for everyone, and we've also talked about that on here. But again, we love Marvel so much, and it's like I almost feel like I have to watch it, which is to their credit. Good job, like, you know, making this spider web of things that all connect. But there's just like I don't know where this level of everything has to be so jokey now. Like I feel like we've lost the stakes. And it's just
Thor: Love and Thunder as well.
Thor: Love and Thunder. We've said the same thing about Star Wars to some degree. Like it's just been that there just seems to have been this shift where it's kind of like
we need more comedy.
Yeah, it's like we're just gonna jam more comedy into it, and it's like I think the jokes are funny on their own. Like when we saw that trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, when I say I was legitimately like killing myself laughing. That scene where, you know, he's trying to keep in Chris Pratt's gaze. It's like, dude, that was hysterical. But it's just like any of the other things we just talked about. When it's too much, it just kind of becomes like, now it's just like joke, and then they don't hold any sort of like impact.
So to come full circle, I think the stakes of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever will help alleviate the need for a joke every 5 minutes, because then it comes off like disrespectful. It's like, I think a lot of people are coming to that movie for two reasons. One, to sort of honor Chadwick Boseman and his incredible performance, but also to be like, who's taken over?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and
that's
so if you spend the whole time cracking jokes, it takes away from it. Like you said, it lowers the stakes.
It lowers the stakes. It lowers the bar. I also think Black Panther, perfect circling back, is the perfect example of, it's going to be so emotional. It's going to be clearly based on trailers and what we've seen so far. The stakes are going to be higher. So then guess what? When somebody actually does tell a joke, because you're going to have been so like emotionally wrought with other things,
it'll land.
It'll land.
Yeah.
If anything, you take it from a joke that would probably just be like, pretty funny, to like, you're probably really going to laugh because you've just been so emotional. And you know where they did that? Because it was beautifully shown in that movie, was Top Gun. Top Gun had all these moments of sad things and this, whatever. So then when they would ramp it back up in another direction of funny or intense or whatever, those things land.
Yes.
I like the comedy in Marvel. I've always liked the comedy in Marvel, but you can't. I just don't see the need to just go full out on like everything.
I think Thor: Love and Thunder is a perfect sort of example of what you're talking about, of where like there were no stakes in that movie because it was just joke. And it's like, you have like a sad thing with like Jane Foster is diagnosed with terminal illness. You have
that should have been way more sad.
Yeah. You have Christian Bale trying to get over being this like sinister, possessed, like Gore the God Butcher. But it's like,
lost his kid.
All of that takes a back seat to Thor the funny guy. And I know that, like, you know, we've talked about this before, like, and it is true that, you know, Chris Hemsworth was ready to leave, and he, after the Dark World, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the whole reason they brought in Taika Waititi is because he was like, I want to have fun with this. I don't want to.
And that's
I
great.
think Ragnarok, they struck the perfect balance of
correct.
Yeah, and Love and Thunder, they just went way over the line of comedy.
And listen, to say I love Taika Waititi is an understatement. I think he's so funny. I think the jokes that he has within his movies, again, Jojo Rabbit, great example, because it's just like there's all these things happening on, and the contrast to have these little kids whose best friend is like Hitler, but having these like imaginary friend to be Hitler, but having these, you know, real world stakes going on around him. Especially one moment, I'm not going to blow it if people haven't seen it. And if you haven't, you should. It's like, again, those emotional moments hit, but it's like when you just do too much. Yeah. And again, I'm not even saying it's him. Who knows? Because whenever you're making a movie within a studio system, everybody wants to always go, oh, this director screwed this up, or this actor, blah, blah. Everybody wants to take the easy shot at like whoever it is that's like in charge or in that movie. And it's like, a lot of times people don't realize there's a million people involved saying, do this, or you should do that, or whatever. We need more comedy because they like the comedy in the last one. So let's double up or triple up. And it's like, no. Yeah. Like, you nailed it in the last one. Why wouldn't you just somewhat stay in that same vein? Because honestly, Funny Thor is amazing. The Dark World Thor, nah. No. Like, it's just not good. So when Taika Waititi came in and he built all that up, it was amazing. And we were all just like, this is good. You found it. You found where he lands. But then it always feels like there's somebody in the background being like, let's just dial this up a little bit. And it's like, just leave it alone. You know,
Brad, this is a whole other, one day we'll have a whole episode on this, because you could throw Warner Brothers into this too, where you have like
always
suits meddling with the creative process. And
leave the creatives alone.
Oh my God. Like, alone. The audience thought it was funny, and we made it, it increased our ticket sales by X amount of dollars. Therefore, we're going to apply that logic. And it's like, no, it's just, there's so many examples of, just letting the director tell his story. And having that work out well, but these egomaniacs in these boardrooms, they just can't stay out of it. They can't do it.
Well, it's wild because again, it's like I get that there's like, I'm sure a level of like, people think they're helping. And I'm sure in some cases you do need to step in, but that's why you have producers. Like you don't always need like everybody from the, CEO all the way down to the guy mopping up the floors at the end of the day, giving their opinion on stuff. It's like, hey, have we not shown at this point, at a certain point, you go, why do movies that are made by people like Christopher Nolan, who has openly said to big studios like Warner Brothers, leave me alone, let me do my thing, back the hell off. And guess what? The movie comes out, kills it. James Cameron, leave me the hell alone. Matt Reeves, leave me the hell alone. Let me do what I need to do. Spielberg. All these guys. Guess why? Because at a certain point, if you're going to hire them or put them on staff or whatever to make these movies, leave them alone.
Yeah.
You brought them in because it was a good idea and the plot and everything sounds amazing. And, sure, there should be notes and it's a collective project and things like that. But know what your job is and let those guys do what they need to do. And it looks like we're going to get this, hopefully, with a lot of these movies we just talked about.
Yes. Okay, let's do some honorable mentions before we get out of here.
Yes.
The first one on my list, Brad, has got to be, it actually hits theaters this weekend. Don't worry, darling. Just for the sheer fact that, like...
I forgot that was this weekend.
There has been... Like the film itself is intriguing enough, but the amount of drama that has surrounded this movie, not to mention
I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but I also
to mention that this is one of the few movies Warner Brothers is releasing for the rest of the year because apparently they're out of money. So like,
which is mind-boggling that they said that.
It is. So for me, it's like, that's cause enough to want to see like that. What it was about this here? Yes. This has been a arduous, exhausting process. Yes, whirlwind. Yes, exactly.
Whirlwind, to put it mildly. We got divorce papers. We got Shia LaBeouf. We got Harry Styles spitting on people. Who knows?
We got Chris Pine looking like somebody's mother. We got.
Oh no. That man is always handsome. You leave Chris Pine alone.
You leave Chris Pine and his mom haircut alone.
Hey, he could pull it off. Imagine I'm gonna try one day just to see what it looks like.
No.
Okay. This was a movie. I did briefly mention that there was a movie I was gonna bring up before we started this podcast today, but I feel like there were so many at a certain point. I had to make like little notes if I were just gonna do some honorable mentions. But one that is coming out that was not on my radar at all. And it looks like it's like kind of indie filmish looking, but it's called Vesper or Vespa. I'm not sure. I think it's Vesper, Vesper. It is a sci-fi movie coming out. And it has
Yes. I've seen trailers for this.
Man.
Yep.
I have not seen a gritty looking sci-fi movie come out in quite some time. And this looks like a total throwback to what sci-fi movies used to be, which is like a real gritty, while, also having the benefit of being a movie in 2022. So they have access to, CG and all these things that they need. It looks brilliant. Again, I know very little about it. I read the synopsis. I've seen the trailer. It looks fantastic, and it's coming out September 30th. So that is going to be honestly, that's going to be a must watch. The only reason it wasn't in my top 3 because it came on my barometer so late that I was like, I don't know what to think. I don't know even enough about it, but I saw the trailer, I saw the synopsis, I went through the cast. One of the actors is from oh my God, Liev Schreiber's show. You know what I'm talking about. Ray Donovan. Yep. He's one of the brother. He's the oldest brother. He's in it. It looks fantastic.
Yep.
That might be a sleeper hit of the whole year.
My significant other said that I had to include this in my honorable mentions, and I'm not only doing it for her. I actually agree. Is on
Okay.
it's already having a limited theatrical run in the theaters, but on September 28th, Blonde, starring Anna de Armas as
Yes.
Marilyn Monroe, drops on
That was
Netflix.
on my list as well. Yep.
Yes,
Looks fantastic.
that will be a date night movie in this house.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yes.
And I think also, just side note, this is more than just your significant other at this
This
point.
is my wife. Yes.
This is your wife.
This is my
This
wife.
is the wedding we were referring to. This was
Yes.
this was just this, not this past, but 2 weekends ago.
All right,
So
Brad,
we
I'll
all-
take. Thank you. I'll take your next thing out of your mouth for you. So you want to talk about Halloween Ends?
Oh man, could I Jamie Lee Curtis just refusing to hang him up. No. No. But in the Halloween theme, Hocus Pocus 2, baby.
Oh yeah.
Hocus Pocus 2. I'm excited. It looks just silly like the original did, but it's like, you want to talk nostalgia, man. I've loved that movie like my entire life. That is every Halloween must watch. So the fact that I'm going to get to watch not only 1 but 2, I just hope it's good. Again, Disney, come on. It's all right there. I don't care. I don't care if I even saw in the trailer, there's clearly some throwbacks to past jokes from the first one that it's just kind of like, that's fine, whatever. But like, just be good. Just be good. That's all I ask. The original cast all came back, other than the kids, unless they're in it at some point. I don't know. The original kids I'm talking about that are now probably 40. I don't know. I don't know if they're in it. Maybe they are actually. But yeah, I'm just excited to see the original cast. It's gonna be great.
This one, I am shocked, did not make your top 3.
Oh.
October 7th, Amsterdam.
It almost did. That was one of my next honorable mentions.
Cast
It looks
movie.
great.
The
Margot
cast
Robbie's
in
back.
this movie. Yeah, Christian Bale, Taylor Swift, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Anna Taylor-Joy, Robert De Niro, Rami Malek, Timothy Olyphant, Mike Myers, Chris Rock, Zoe Saldana, Michael Shannon.
I know. I am super excited about that movie as well. That is like, it's not even a question. Like, I'm going to the theater to watch it. It's going to be like...
That is a Brad movie if I've ever seen one.
It absolutely is. I'm stoked about it. I'm going to say it now. We have to do a review on it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure, we have to. And so, but beyond that, I just think we said 3. I stuck to 3, and it was a hard last minute cut, but I had to pick the ones that I did, and Babylon, just as like what the thematic elements of the movie are. I just felt like Babylon was maybe a little bit more up my alley, just if I had to choose.
Yes.
But I am also very excited for that. That movie's going to be fantastic. That's also going to be another, like, I'm sure it's going to be in award season talks. It just how could it not?
Rounding out the honorable mentions is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Oh my! Wow,
I'm kidding.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm kidding.
I wasn't going to judge, but I do. There was one I was going to say too, and I don't know if you saw this one, because again, it's not on like a ton of, like, it's coming up, but it hasn't been like one where you've been seeing like a ton about it. But it's called The Menu. Have you seen this?
So we have different final honorable mentions. Okay. So you go ahead about The Menu.
So The Menu, it's got Anna Taylor-Joy in it. It's got I'm just trying to remember. I don't want to have to keep reading my notes. It's got Ralph Fiennes in it. It is a psychological thriller, to say the least.
American black comedy horror film.
Yeah, and it looks real good. It looks real good. It looks messed up, but in like a, at times, almost like cheeky, like Knives Out kind of, like, moments of that. And then there's other times. So my rough recollection of when I was watching the trailer, because I'm not going to try to reiterate all the facts, but it's kind of like this high-end private dinner that's being held by this chef, and all these people, these like food critics and socialites are all at this thing, but it's a very limited group, and it's at this like palatial estate, like at this fancy LA home or something like that. And essentially it just slowly, like there seems to be this weird intensity, and then it just kind of slowly builds that it's like something else is happening. And you can kind of see this thing building, and all of a sudden they can't actually leave this dinner and everything else. And anyways, like I said, if you haven't watched the trailer, for you and for the listeners, go watch it, because it kind of just came across my desk, like a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago. And I just remember seeing it and being like, I'll watch this trailer. It looks kind of cool. The cast looks kind of cool. And just being like, whoa, what? I was not expecting that at all. I didn't know what it was. And I just was like, I knew nothing about it. The trailer blew me away.
A good thriller.
I know you do. And you like a good psychological, you like a good like freaky, you like a good scare. Yeah. I think this might actually be up your alley, bud.
Final honorable mention, and you just touched on it there, is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. This drops on Netflix on December 23rd. And the first one was one where I was like, we just sort of put it on, and I was like, okay, we'll watch this silly movie. Yeah. And and I loved it just like everybody else. And this is like, great. It's a sequel, but not really. Like Daniel Craig is back, but it's like a different story with different characters and like a different murder mystery type thing.
Yeah, which is kind of, like it's in line with a lot of, old detective, like Clue or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not always the same case, but it's so funny because that cast that they had for the first Knives Out was so stellar. Not that this new one isn't. It's just because I haven't seen it, and obviously I like the first one, like everyone did. But or most people did probably. But the cast was just so good that I was almost like a little sad when I saw the trailer for the new one. It was like, oh man, like I kind of want to see like schmarmy Chris Pine again. Like he was so good at that movie.
Oh yeah,
he was so excellent.
I would say that this cast is not quite on the level of the first one, but also the first one was a theatrical release. This one is not. This one is straight to Netflix.
It is.
Yes.
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I like that.
Yeah, it is.
I gotta be honest with you.
Netflix acquired the rights.
This is a fun fact for me. I like this. See, we're all learning, listeners.
Yeah.
I did not know, first of all, that Netflix acquired the rights, and I also didn't know that this was going to be a straight to Netflix. Interesting.
Well, they're doing the thing that they always do, where it gets like right now you can
go limited run at least.
Yeah, Blonde in theaters.
Oh, okay,
yes.
I'm cool with that.
But then it drops on Netflix eventually.
Yeah, I think the bar has to be high. Like I remember the big one that like really kind of set the tone for that was The Irishman, and The Irishman, there was no chance I'm not seeing a Scorsese movie in the theater. So that was like. That I do think that we've had this discussion before. I think there's room for certain movies to just go onto Netflix. I might be into it. I might be into that. I don't know if I like it. I'll get back to it when it comes out. I'm sure we'll review that as well because it looks good.
All right, buddy. I think we're gonna pack it in for this week. We will be back next week and every week subsequently for the foreseeable future.
Kelly will be back. She's on her honeymoon.
Kelly will be back. Kelly's on her honeymoon in Italy.
Yep.
So
we'll get the gang back together, everybody.
We'll get the gang back together. Absolutely. I'm sitting here right now, and I've got the football game on in the corner, and they're showing a trailer for Andor.
There you go.
There's Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, this show looks awesome.
It's gonna kill it. It's gonna kill it.
It is.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
All right, everybody. Well, like I said earlier, we're back. So if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. Do the same thing if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast as well. And we will catch you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.